What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I want winners.
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
And here are your hosts, RJ Young and Brandon Drum.
What's up, kid folks? It's RJ Young. That is Brandon Drum, and we're going to start talking about, well, Pro Day. Brandon, you were there. Let me know what you see.
Yeah, I mean, look, OU has the biggest Pro Day, and they have had the biggest Pro Day the past 2 years, obviously with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield leading, the charge there. The one thing that I think is interesting was I don't know that other places are even as deep as Oklahoma is this year because, look, there were 7 or 8 guys that potentially could get drafted off that roster. And then you got a kicker in Austin Seibert that was just – he put on a show. It was pretty impressive to watch the things that he did. And even Joe Klatt was super, super impressed by it. Look, Kyler Murray didn't do a whole lot. He obviously doesn't have to do a whole lot. And that right there, more than anything, tells me that he knows that he's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft, potentially the number 1 pick with the Arizona Cardinals. And everybody tried to make a big deal about Cliff Kingsbury and their GM not showing up out there. Look, first off, it was the first day of free agency, so they've got to do some things. Second, it's going to be a bigger deal if they show up. It's going to, throw more gas on the fire, in my opinion. There's already a thick amount of smoke coming out of Phoenix, and I don't think you want any more drama than there already is, because that can cause a major, major issue with just the sheer whatever they do. They look at Arizona, they look at Josh Rosen, and they know that there's an issue behind the scenes there, and that's just going to exasperate it, in my opinion. It's just going to get worse. Obviously, Curtis Bolton put on a great show. With Kyler, he put on a really good show. I thought it was equal, or at least close to being as good as what Baker did last year. He obviously didn't have the receivers Baker had last year. And I think the best one he had was Charleston Rambo, who, he really did put on a show. The guy showed his speed, and it is impressive. You can really tell he is a 4-3 guy or a low 4-4 guy. So it's not like they're going to miss Hollywood too bad with him running seams and flies out there all game next year for Jalen Hurts. The question is going to be, is Jalen Hurts going to hit him in stride? So I think there is a lot to digest and kind of talk about when you talk about yesterday's spring day or Pro Day. I just think that it's Oklahoma put on a show. I think everybody that walked away thought it was good, and they thought it was an impressive showing by everybody involved. And the one thing you can say is Curtis Bolton, he put himself up another notch, potentially, a 6th, 7th rounder as far as the draft goes, with what he did with the numbers and how he put on during the drills. I think Monty Bledsoe put on a show as well. I think he did really well.
Outside of the Kyler Murray conversation, one of the things that I was asked was who looked the best as far as having a professional career in the National Football League. Now, I know that Curtis Bolton deserves that title coming out of Pro Day with, 4.53 is faster than I thought that guy was.
Yeah.
38-inch vertical, jumped higher than I thought that guy could jump. 18 reps on bench, if I recall. And we're recording this on a Thursday morning for the folks that are just trying to keep all the math together. But Charleston Rambo probably made the most money of anybody not named Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
If for no other reason than
I agree
he was
100%.
the only guy on the active roster.
He showed he's fast.
He's the only guy that is on the active roster that was allowed to participate in Pro Day, and that's because of a rule that is made between the NFL and the American Football Coaches Association along the lines of NCAA, where a player who is going to be draft eligible the next year is allowed to participate in Pro Days. Now, you can have 5, but you can participate for more because they're not really trying to limit who can participate in these things. And I thought it spoke volumes that that guy was not CeeDee Lamb, that guy was not Mike Hill Jones, that guy was not insert Sooner name here. It was a redshirt freshman who had just 8 catches in 2018, 3 in the Orange Bowl, and his only touchdown of his career, 49 yards to the house. Yeah, Charleston Rambo made a lot of money. And now, you were talking about this on the last podcast that we had, where you were just, you've been a Rambo believer for a long time, and I've been skeptical up until now, right? Because you threw him out there in a way that I didn't expect you to throw him out there, and now we have an answer for who is the heir apparent to Marquise Brown in a real way. Also gets around to this point that you made kind of a little bit earlier about whether or not Jalen Hurts can hit him in stride. And I've been making this point. The folks that are rooting for Jalen Hurts need to be rooting really hard for him to do what neither one of the last 2 Heisman winners could do. You're not bringing in Jalen Hurts and kicking Austin Kendall to the curb because he's a good quarterback. You're bringing him in because he did what Baker Mayfield could not do, what Kyler Murray could not do, which is win a college football playoff game. People forget he beat Clemson. He got them to that title game against Georgia. And you didn't have that in the best player in football for the last 2 years. Those 2 guys, we love them. Baker is going to be a saint by the time it's all said and done if he isn't already. Kyler is the most athletic and most gifted quarterback that Oklahoma's ever produced. But I'm going to tell you this. If Jalen Hurts does not win a college football playoff, this could be a LeBron Lakers situation in that the folks who are signing on to Jalen Hurts, in the same way that OU fans sign on to the Cleveland Browns, are going to blame OU. And I don't necessarily think that that's in line with anything at all because, OU's made the last 2 college football playoffs, so it doesn't necessarily need his help. What it needs his help with is doing that other thing, which is winning the playoff game. So if he does what Baker and Kyler did, is it anything more than what Austin Kendall could do? We don't know. But we would know that he was able to do something that nobody else at this university has been able to accomplish. And I thought that's really going to be interesting to see if he can pair up with CD and if he can pair up with Rambo or Hazelwood or Theo Weiss or whoever they throw out there at that, I believe it's the Z position that player plays. Yeah. So I'm really interested to see how this all works because right now, cool, honeymoon period is over. It's time for Jalen Hurts to show everybody who he is. And that time is going to keep coming until December, and we're going to have an answer.
Yeah, look, most people are trying to say, and I talked to some people, they've said, look, there's not a big discrepancy between the, Mordecai and Hurts right now, but they also say, and they preface it with, you can tell what Hurts is going to be once he gets everything down. He hasn't been in the system the way Mordecai has for a whole year. So he's not going to be as far along as far as knowing the reads, knowing the checks, knowing all that stuff. Only have been on campus for a month and a half, 2 months. There is a lot of chatter of the potential is there. His throwing ability is there. It's being able to digest and dissect everything that he can do as far as making the reads, knowing the offense, doing everything that he needs to do to get to where come April 14th, it looks like the fans can see, the light at the end of the tunnel with him. And I think that's the main thing. They want to see, can this guy complete passes? Because, look, nobody questioned the issue with Kyler last year in the spring game because they all had faith off of what they saw in high school. They had faith off of what they saw during his mop-up duties the previous year. So it wasn't a question of could he do this, could he do that. They all knew he could, and you've heard the rumblings out of the practices for the last 2 years of Kyler Murray doing this amazing thing, Kyler Murray doing that amazing thing. So we don't have that with Hurts. What we have is him going 26-2 at Alabama, him being a 68% completion percentage guy at Alabama, him throwing for 2,800 yards, 3,000 yards at Alabama, and rushing for 1,000. We know he can do it. It's can he do it in Riley's more sophisticated offense? Because that's ultimately what it is. That's what everybody talks about. They're like, yeah, it's an air raid, but it is a very sophisticated air raid offense. Is he going to be able to pick it up this quick? Is he going to be able to turn it around and make it to where he is the guy that the heir apparent and the next potential first-round draft pick. And I don't know that he can just yet because everything's so new. So I think people might be jumping to the gun off of spring performances, off of the spring game performances, off of just what they've heard so far. I think for us as reporters, for everybody as fans, it's going to take time, man. The guy just got here, but people that I've spoken with said they can see the potential of what it could be because there's flashes already.
Well, there's been that talk from day one since, you were the first person to source that he was indeed looking at Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I look at it this way. I don't buy spring football in the hype because I understand what it is. Spring football is very important to the football team itself. For us,
it's more important on defense this year, I think.
Well, but even so, right? You're not going to be able to draw any conclusions from spring ball. If for no other reason, then you still got half the freshman class that's not here. And the guys that looked really good in the spring game in particular almost never end up being the guys that you count on to be your everyday or every Saturday guys during the season. We saw this with Levi Jones last year.
Yeah, because there's not the freshman class isn't in.
Right, but I also want it ironed out that Jalen Hurts is not Baker Mayfield. He is not Kyler Murray. And there are things that he does well. And there are things that he, on the surface, does better than both of those guys. I also don't necessarily think that it's going to be incumbent upon Lincoln to make him fit into the scheme in a way that the other guys did, because you're going to have these running backs. And I contend that Kyler Murray does not win the Heisman Trophy if Rodney Anderson doesn't blow out his ACL against UCLA. Just doesn't happen. Because you would have been handing the ball to Rodney Anderson. That was the guy that we were talking about coming in, because we were all talking about, hey, Rodney could be a Heisman candidate if he gets the number of touches that he would need, because you're going after 2017. And this year,
you may be thinking about Kyler coming back or trying to make up a deal with the Oakland A's to come back.
I still think that dude would have played baseball.
Yeah, I know. That's probably a long shot, but I mean, that may be the talk at this point.
By the way, is that your dog?
The ultimate. Yeah, my dog's barking at something. I don't know.
What's your dog?
The boxer. Gnarly.
Gnarly?
With an N, not a G. Yeah, not with a G. It's just Narley.
That's up. B, how come cool. I never knew you had a... We've talked about my dog having a seizure. How come I've never known about you having a dog?
Oh, that dog's my baby.
Yeah.
So I don't know. She was the one that it was just me and her before it was the boys and Amy. So.
Man, I got Zingo. Zingo's a holy terror, but I love that.
This one's just a lazy fat boxer.
Zingo does not know how to calm the hell down. Like 54-pound Australian Shepherd mix. The dude is wide-eyed all the time, and I swear it almost feels like the dude is a meth addict.
How old?
He turns 9 this year. He's getting up there.
Oh, yeah. So she's 8. Okay. She turns 9 this year, too. So the crazy thing is that she used to be that way up until last year, and all of a sudden it was like a flip of switch, and she decided she just wants to cuddle up with. She thinks she's a lap dog, and she weighs like 70 pounds. So
I know, right? That's mine, too. Yeah. Dude, I'm like, hey, man, you can't be on my lap. You're literally half my size. This is not working.
Yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable.
It's not working. So I digress because I heard the dog barking and that perked my ears. But you're making the point, or I was making the point, that I don't necessarily think that the offense would have run the way that it ran last year if Rodney Anderson was healthy. And to that point, if Trey Sermon was fully healthy, because I'm trying to tell people, especially when they're talking about, Kyler didn't run the 40. All right, man, he carried the ball 140 times last year and averaged 7.2 yards per carry and rushed for 1,000 yards. You really need to see him run a 40? He had more carries than Kennedy Brooks and Marcellus Sutton combined. He had just 15 fewer carries than Kennedy Brooks and TJ Pledger combined. I mean, Trey Sermon carried the ball 160 times. Kyler carried the ball 140 times. What do you think happened? I think it was quite honestly, Lincoln said, okay, I guess we're just running the offense entirely through Kyler, and that ended up to work. But you're just not going to do that with Jalen Hurts, especially if all your running backs are healthy. And that's one of the reasons you brought in Ramondre Stevens. For that reason.
And then you got Marcus Major coming in, who is built like a man-child already.
Right.
So,
and Sermon is
yeah.
I think he's Lincoln's favorite because he kept running him out there as the starter even when everybody else was going, yo, man, Kennedy Brooks is a walking first down. Why doesn't that man get more carries? And I'm sure that's only going to get louder.
Speaking of running backs, so yesterday, none other than Adrian Peterson's father,
Nelson.
Blank now, Nelson Peterson came in, and I talked to him for a long time, and I didn't really register. I knew that his son was here, and he said, "Oh, my son's 11 years old." Blah blah blah.
Nelson Jr.
So I'm Nelson Jr. And so there was Kel Gundy Pope tweeted a picture of it, but they had the laser time and they were just messing around. Right? Kid is 11 years old. I want people to just wrap their heads around.
No. Don't give him a number. 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 Just say it was fast.
Number because it was insane.
Oh my God.
It was insane. He ran a 4.8 at 11 years old. Laser at OU. Just messing around.
Drum, you just told every. Okay. Now the question is, did they offer him?
I'm pretty positive.
Oh my God!
Offer at this point.
Come on.
I don't know that they offered him. I'm just saying that I'm pretty positive it's pretty written in stone that if you do that at age 11 and you're related to Adrian Peterson, you probably have an offer.
Drum,
it's just insane, man.
Drum, there's an adult listening to this podcast that just lost his mind.
I lost my mind.
He's screaming at the car stereo.
I literally looked at and I said 4.8, and the person that was telling, I had two people tell me the same thing.
So guys, 4.8 at 11 translates to 4.4, 4.3 by the time you get to college. That's
yeah.
So now that you have a number, and now that you know how fast another one of Nelson Peterson's kids is, all of y'all are gonna be going, yo. So he's coming to OU now, right?
I would suspect that that's probably going to be the case anyways, because they were decked out in Oklahoma crap anyways. So they're an OU family.
Oh, I get it. I know.
I sat next to AD, like he sat right next to me at Bob's retirement, and he and I got to know each other pretty well. And he talked about his little brother a little bit, but he didn't, so much say that he was the next superstar. And I was talking to Nelson. I said, "Is he better than AD?" And he said he's got the potential to be. He just likes to play Fortnite a little bit too much.
Oh, get out of here! Get out of here! There's no such thing. Play that Fortnite, child.
I just laughed.
Nah, I hear you. But I'm just, man, we're such recruiting geeks. We're talking about 11-year-olds 40.
Just in general, just to be talking, because he was just standing next to me, and I just looked up, and the guy looks like he could play. Nelson looks like he could go out there and play, and everybody forgets that he was recruited by Oklahoma to play basketball, if I remember correct, by Tubbs. If I remember out of college or high school.
I can only remember that his mom was fast as all hell. Like his mom could flat out fly. We're talking track and field here for y'all that don't know, but yeah, I could believe that. To see Nelson Peterson is to see a guy who could have played or should have played D1 somewhere, and to look at the offspring.
Like a tank, yeah.
Yeah, to look at the offspring, you would also think that just bloodlines and whatnot.
Oh, dude, Jake Charter and I were talking about it. It's like, well, he comes from good stock. Talking about Nelson Peterson Jr., the 11-year-old who just released. It kind of started murmuring around really quick about how fast he ran his 40.
Oh my God!
Everybody was freaking blown away.
I kind of love this and hate it all at the same time, because now we're talking about an 11-year-old.
Oh, we're on watch the next 7 years. What's he doing?
What's he doing? And I just I want to remind myself as much as anybody else, they're children. They're children.
No, definitely. I got a 6-year-old. I personally, I didn't even say a word to him, and I wouldn't. I'm not going to talk to that kid until he gets about a sophomore in high school, when they can start comprehending and having adult conversations about their future. There's no point. People that do that, that's scary.
So Noah had a really great story about that. So Noah was at the grocery store, with his grandmother, and they were just shopping. He's still in Louisiana. And an LSU fan came up to him, knew who he was, said, "So you're gonna be a boot
Noah
boy,
Kane,
right?
Everybody, Noah Kane.
You're gonna be a boot boy." Oh yeah, Noah Kane, my fault. So sorry, Noah to those of us that know him. Anyway, says Noah, "You gonna be a boot boy?" He's like, "I don't know. You ought to go to LSU." "I don't know." "Well, I went to LSU. I played a little ball. I ain't played at LSU, but I think you should go to LSU." "Hey man, I don't know." And that was making him uncomfortable to the point to where he had to tell dude, "Yo man, I'm here trying to shop for groceries with my grandmother. Could you please leave us alone?" And dude kind of walked away.
Yep.
And then came back and tried to give his recruiting pitch again, going, "I just think that you should go to LSU." And I'm going, is that what we're doing now? Apparently.
Oh my God! Look, so when I went down to, and we're totally digressing, but it's good. These are good stories. To Trajan Bridges' football game. I can't remember. He was playing Carrollton. Can't remember which one. It may have been Creekview and not Branchview. So I was at the game. I was with Jackie, and Jackie says, "Hey, Theo's there." So I text Theo and I said, "Hey, man, where you at?"
That's his dad. That's Trajan's
Yeah, Jackie's
dad. Jack Bridges.
Sorry, we're like totally.
We're rolling. Sorry.
So I go up and I text Theo, and Theo goes, "Hey," he texts me, he goes, "Can you get you down to the field?" Because he saw me down there talking to Jackie, and he texted me, "Can you get me down the field?" I was like, "I don't think I can." Jackie probably can, because I don't have that type of authority. And he goes, "Well, come up here." So I come up there, and Noah Kane's there, and Trey Sanders, and everybody's up there with him. And we're talking, and I kid you not, Texas Longhorn fans, whoever fans came up, whether it was Alabama, it was multiple fan bases were coming up to these kids and be like, "So you're going to go play here, there, and there?" They knew who these kids were. And they're all trying to have a conversation with me. And we're not even talking recruiting. We're just talking life in general. And they're like looking over at me like, "Do you see this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what to do, man. I can't help you." It is insane how people hotbox these kids.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. But and yesterday after Pro Day was even worse. I get it. Fans want to be a part of things. Fans were lining up. There's like these barricades that line up between Everest and the workout facility from across the street. So along the sidewalk to lead you into, the Everest Center. And people, there was 50, 60, 70, 80 fans lined up sitting outside there waiting for the OU current players to walk out. And they were all hotboxed. They got circled. Like Kenneth Murray and Kyler and all them are walking out beside me. And they're like, "Oh my gosh." And you just see these hordes of people just run at them. And they were just swarming. I was like, well, that is awful. That's where we're at. I get it. But, if you're a fan, I get it. But they were mostly, they were grown men out there. And that's what, just bombarding. Like, they took off the day of work to go bombard these kids, knowing they were going to be there. That's a little much for me sometimes. And I get it as a fans, I get y'all fans doing that. That's fine. It's your prerogative. But those kids, man, if you ever talk to them, they feel a little overwhelmed sometimes.
Yeah, you're fans, but you're also adults and they're children. Like, let's keep it 100 on that. I'm not going to give passes on that. I am going to pivot here, though, because I'm going to bring up a third rail. Wrote a column about this. Took a snippet from a kid. Ryan Watts had something to say. It's drawn out in crayon for the interview that runs for like 17 minutes. Really insightful. Really enjoyed talking to Ryan Watts.
I've heard plenty about this. Appreciate you. Go ahead.
So, Ludacris is headlining Longhorn City Limits the same night as the spring game. Ludacris featuring Noah North. Okay. For the folks that don't necessarily think the spring game concerts are a big deal or that spring game concerts are for fans, are you really going to tell me that there are more folks at Texas that would prefer to hear Ludacris than country? At the University of Texas? Since, it's all... I get it, right? I understand it's a concert. I understand that kids aren't going to see the concert. I also know that...
I don't think Austin City Limits is affiliated.
No, look, Longhorn City Limits. That's what it's called. It's called Longhorn City Limits.
Oh.
That's what it's called. And this is tweeted by the Texas football account. Bring a little Southern hospitality to hashtag Made in Austin weekend. Ludacris will headline Longhorn City Limits stage with special guest Noah North on Saturday, April 13th, following the orange-white spring game. That is the official Texas football account with the blue check mark and all of that. So you tell me, B.
Yeah.
Who's losing their mind?
I'm with you. I mean, but it is ludicrous. I don't know how much ludicrous really attracts a crowd anymore. It would attract me and you.
I was just gonna say that, right? I was you and me. We would be there.
I mean, I'm sitting there going, "Oh yeah, that sounds like fun to me." But I don't know about today. I don't think he's even been on a. He's just an actor now, as far as I know. I mean,
that's like saying The Rock is just an actor.
Well, I mean, that's all they. Well, yeah, for you and me, he's a wrestler, but
right
for them, that's what I'm saying. And I'm talking like I'm a high school kid right now. He's an actor to them.
Well, it's following the game, right? It's following the game. It's not before the game, and I think that's a key distinction. I think that's
I don't know that they're going to want to stay around and go to a ludicrous concert. So I think had they played it out, Texas played it out that he was before, I think that would have attracted the recruits way more than after, because afterwards those kids are ready to get out.
Well, and I was going to say I don't think that they would want to see that. I don't think the University of Texas football program would want the concert to happen before the spring game, because they're doing officials during that time. You want the focus to be on what you're doing, not what the concert is doing.
That's why they do the country,
right?
The fans.
And I get all of that, but I am pointing it out just so we can actually throw that into this cauldron of energy when we're talking about spring games and spring game concerts, right? And I just think that, it matters. That's my point. It matters. It matters who the person is.
And as I've told you, I know I haven't said this publicly, they've gotten big. I mean, obviously, Trace Atkins wasn't big, but who they've got this year is bigger than Trace Atkins and Lee Bryce.
Is Carrie Underwood busy?
Yeah, that's a good. Well,
no, I'm dead serious. Is Blake Shelton busy?
Oh, see, you throw Blake Shelton.
Is Miranda Lambert busy?
You're throwing out Oklahoma.
Yes.
Big.
Yes. Do we have? Oh my God! Get Cross Canadian Ragweed back together.
I mean, that would be the Kings of Leon would be.
Oh my God! Yes. Get the Follow Wills to the stadium. They're massive OU fans.
All-American Rejects would be huge.
You see where I'm going with this?
One Republic would be huge.
Why are you bringing it? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm just see.
I'm naming Oklahoma bands. Yeah, I'm naming Oklahoma bands.
I mean, it's not a rap versus country thing. That's not what it is. It's not that.
And that's where I was going to go with this. They're going to get bigger. So here's what I was told, and I did some inspecting, reporting, some investigating on this. I was told, look, they have a amount of money that Josie's given them, and with that amount of money, they are doing the best they can right now, and it goes up every year. So they didn't want to bombard people with $5 to $10 entry and then bump it up to $60 the next year because they were going to have Justin Timberlake in or whoever in. So what they're doing is they're slowly, organically trying to get it bigger and bigger so that people don't gripe of, oh my gosh, it's $70 for us to go to this spring game now, just so you can pay for, Justin Timberlake or Bruno Mars or whoever, or $50 to pay for, Kings of Leon, which I don't think Kings of Leon ultimately would charge that much. I think it would be around 30, 40. And I think next year there's a good chance you could see a Kings of Leon or a, like you said, a Blake Shelton or somebody like that, or a One Republic or All-American Rejects. I don't know that All-American Rejects will come down and play because they're Oklahoma State. They actually went to OSU. But the point being is that it's going to get bigger every year. People, once you know that and you can understand that, and I think people are like saying, well, Lee Bryce is going to get them. They're not going to have 60,000 people now because he's there. Bro, it was 30 degrees with 50-mile-an-hour winds last year, and Trace Atkins was there and they 52,000.
Yeah, that crowd wasn't great for the concert though, and that's the other part about this, because I know that there are people who are going, yo man, I'm showing up for the football. I don't care about any concert.
Yeah, and if it's 60 degrees out, 65 degrees out, that place will be packed. There'll be 70,000 people there.
I want to bring it up because it is a thing that you told everybody is happening, and since you told everybody that it is happening, that means you want people to know that it is happening, and if you want people to know that it is happening, you want them to talk about it because it's happening. That's my point about Texas saying that Ludacris is performing, and my point about Oklahoma saying much earlier than last year, Lee Brice is performing. They want you to know. Yeah. Now, the thing about wanting people to know what you're doing is that you invite people. But you invite people to have opinions about what it is you're doing. I get this on a regular basis, right? Because I make something every day. I write something, I produce something, videos go up on the channel every single day, and people always give me their opinion. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But I put it out there because I want people to have something to say about it. I don't understand how having something not necessarily nice to say about even a spring game concert is bad. I don't get it. You know, I if you went to OU's pro day and you wanted to say, man, you know who didn't have a good pro day? Ben Powers, Bobby Evans, Cody Ford, Drew Smia, Kyler Murray, whatever. You still have people there talking about your pro day.
They had a bad pro day, people. He's just making you make examples.
Thank you.
Just so we're clear on this.
but you know, Chuck Casterly saying that Kyler Murray can't work a whiteboard is still good for Kyler Murray. Right? Because I make a video about it yelling at Chuck Casterly, and everybody else has just the worst things to say about Chuck Casterly. Right? And yet, who came out smelling like roses? Kyler Murray. You know, anyway, I mean, we're talking way too much about a spring game concert. Let's talk some recruiting. That's what we do.
Okay.
Lincoln mentioned this, and I wanted you to be able to flesh this out. We can go back and forth. This is going to be the biggest, spring game that they're ever going to have, right, until the next one. He wants more people than the 52,000 that showed up last year because the visitor list is stacked. Of what you're willing to divulge, because we put a lot of this on the board and whatnot, how much of that is overblown and how much of that is nailing it right on the head?
I think it's going to be pretty big. There is, the number one player in the country, Brian Barista, is going to be there. The number one defensive tackle in the country is taking an official to Oklahoma. That's pretty huge. There's a number of 5 stars that once, we put the list out, it's just gotten bigger and bigger as far as the 4 and 5 stars coming to this event. They are bringing in the big dogs as much as they possibly can for this spring game. Obviously, Ryan Watts is going to be there, Jahari Rogers. There's going to be, I'm trying to think, as far as off the top of my head, it's really, really hard to come up with the names off the top of my head. But there's 5 stars, 4 stars. It's got Jaquez Robinson's going to be there.
He's an Alabama commit, 2020 cornerback, 6'2".
Out of Jacksonville. Both of them. Derek Ramirez is going to be there. Both teammates at Sandalwood High School in Jacksonville. They're going to be there. The IMG defensive tackle. My gosh, I just went blank now. Dang it, man.
2020.
Yeah, 2020.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking
4
about.
Star.
Yeah.
Starts with a G.
Give me a second. It's coming. It's in there. I see his face. I see his face. God.
Oh my gosh.
It's bugging me.
It's killing me now. But I talked to him at
because he's committed, right?
No, he's not.
Jalen Carter, Georgia. Right?
No. This is a defensive tackle.
Jalen's man. Okay.
No, so J.C. Lantham's a 2021 kid who's going to be taking a visit. I don't know if when he's coming. I think he may be coming up for the spring game.
I know more 2021 kids that
Warren
are coming
Brinson.
2020.
Warren Brinson is who I'm thinking of. I just went blank. Warren Brinson.
Oh yeah, okay. 6'5",
a 4-star
299. Yeah, I remember. because he's got the glasses
Yeah,
on
he's
in his photo. That's how I remembered.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's coming down. Man, that just shows you how big this game has gotten. I think
in
Milton,
just 2 years.
I think
just 2
Kendall
years.
Milton's going to be there for the official. Yeah, so there's so many guys that are coming in to this thing. It's going to be a huge, huge day for Oklahoma as far as recruiting goes. And look, don't be surprised if there's 7, 8 commits, whether it be 2020 or 2021 kids that are there on unofficials. I mean, Oklahoma is going to make this thing rock just like they did last year. And that's the plan. Last year they had, of the total visitors that they had on campus, I think they ended up with like 30-something. 11 ended up in the 2019 class.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
think about that.
And I get all of that. You get all of that. And I think that it's going to be difficult to get to 7 like you did last year. Now, I know all those guys did not make it on the campus. I mean, I think we're talking about Jamal Morris and Theo Weiss as the only guys that committed last spring at that game that ended up, signing their letter of intent and are enrolled. However, wait, so
no.
Okay,
there
Jerry and
was only
Jones.
2 out of the.
Jerry and Jones, R.J. Henderson, Theo Weiss, Jamal Morris, Jalen Knighton.
Yep.
I'm missing 2. Who am I missing?
The grad transfer that ended up at Georgia.
So Jay, what's his face?
Jay, yeah, whatever.
Okay, and then one more. Who we missing?
That's the defensive end for out of DC.
Wette, Joseph Wette. So that's 3.
Yeah.
3 of the 7. That's right. 3. So 3 of the 7. And I get that some people who poo-poo recruiting are like, commitments,
but
whatever.
11 total that were there on officials, ended up in that class.
Well, yeah, because I remember we found out, or I don't know if we did because we weren't working together by then, but I found out about a couple more after the fact, like that Tuesday.
Yeah, they just didn't put it public yet.
Okay, all right, because I was like, yo, really? Was anybody going to say that?
Yeah, so the same things kind of happening. I think with the junior day that happened a couple of weeks ago. You've heard of, behind the scenes of some extra guys that may have committed, and Oklahoma may be kind of using them as pawns during the spring.
And by the way,
days.
I really do. I love stretching your commitments. I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing because what they do, and they did this last year. So R.J. Henderson and Theo Weiss and all those guys were committed previously, and they did it again, but they did it quietly to Oklahoma, and they made it public at the spring game to springboard that weekend, and it worked out perfect for Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's going to do that again this year. You just watch. You're going to see some guys they'll come out the Friday before. They're going to commit the day before the spring game, and really, really start that momentum. And once that starts going, you get all these kids on campus together. I mean, look, they had to hold off Jaden Hazelwood. He tried to flip last year. I can say it now, but he tried to flip last year, and they didn't have a spot for him. I mean, it's just that simple. And it took R.J. Henderson decommitting for him to be able to come aboard. And that's why I said back in July, I said, look, he will end up at the University of Oklahoma. And I had a few ends on that, obviously, and knew what the whole plan was. And ultimately the plan was for him to do it in December, and he decided he was going to commit, publicly at the All-American game instead. And he did it to Oklahoma. So, I mean, I was a couple days off. About 2 weeks off as far as the timeline goes, but it was going to happen. Like, that was the plan last year. He was going to end up at Oklahoma, and we've talked about it on OU Insider over and over and over. I like where Oklahoma stands. And, I mean, I remember Steve Wiltfong looking at me like I was crazy, and then he told me after, he's like, man, you nailed that on the head, man. I was like, yeah, well,
Steve
I knew
Wiltfong is the national
director he's the man. You talk about somebody that
247.
knows, oh, man, that guy is in on everything.
Well, okay, so my thing about this is kind of my critique of Lincoln, as small as it might be, but you're gonna be able to keep pulling that trick again. It's kind of like why I'm loud about the whole Austin Kendall thing is.
But you don't make it obvious. Like I couldn't tell you who are going to be the guys that
right,
commit.
but you're also if you know that the class is filling out, and everybody is woke to the way that you like to fill out your classes, right? Which is to continue to like this would be like they've had to commit. They've had to commit every single month, dating back to December. Every single month. Matter of fact, smart. I think did Jacoby Jones? No, he didn't commit in November. Because I know he flipped in November, but did he commit?
So he didn't. He flipped. He committed in the end of September.
Okay, so December, and I think they're trying to get at least one. Now R.J. Proctor kind of fell into their lap, and that's a good thing. That's a cool thing because you wanted other.
Yeah, he's big time.
You pursued other offensive linemen before you got to him, but it still keeps the streak intact. And
they had a chance. Before that, they were going to take more than one.
Well, yeah, but I'm just laying out that if everybody knows what you're doing, it's going to be really difficult for you to continue to pull the rabbit out for the people who are paying attention. Because, that's my issue with the whole Austin Kendall quarterback situation is, look, you told us all last year that Austin Kendall was neck and neck with Kyler Murray, and then all of a sudden he's not good enough to start, and so not good enough that when Jalen Hurts becomes available, you're going, yeah. So what? Okay, if Austin Kendall was that good, and he's been in your system for 3 years, he must have not been that good. He must have been actually not very good at all. Because if you're weighing all this out, there's no reason to believe that Tanner Mordecai has a shot. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with the whole recruiting deal is, for those of us that are paying attention, and we get paid to pay attention, I'm just wondering what the next move is. Because I look at this as a chessboard. And if you hit me with the fried liver attack, you're not going to do it again. If you hit me with a 2-night defense, you're not going to be able to do it again. Now, maybe it doesn't matter, right? Maybe I'm just making too big a deal out of all of this because what it comes down to is
because I think every coach does this stuff.
But I don't cover every coach.
Yeah, but I mean, it worked for people. Certain things work for different programs, and I think Alabama's perfect at this. I mean, they do it better than anybody. And they do this whole stretch it out type deal to make sure that they're, they like to stretch it out and then at the end of the signing period just bombard you with like 7 commits in 1 month. And Oklahoma likes to get it early and then get 1 or 2 the rest of the way. And that's fine. And I'm not saying that it's all going to be 2020 kids that are going to commit because I think there's going to be some 2021 kids. Actually, I think there may be more 2021 kids than 2020. Same. Like I think I mentioned this, but I know more 2021 kids that are showing up at this point than 2020 kids, which is ridiculous. Oh no, I know more 2020, but I think that the 2021 kids are on fire for Oklahoma.
Oh man,
and I think that is a big. And there's more numbers they can take in 2021. That's the bigger issue of it all, because there's only like 8 more they can take for 2020. At this point, now obviously there's going to be some transfers. There's going to be some kids that attrition that happens. Things are going to change, and there's going to end up being 21 maybe in this class. But I think you could get 24, 25, 26 in 2021, depending on how everything shakes out. But just we know that this class is going to be small, and I think that's going to hurt Oklahoma more than anything.
Oh man, I mean, but. All right, we'll let's unpack that in another episode because we both have some opinions on that, and we're watching all of this play out. Look, I'm working on some stuff, right, about the defense, and I know that a lot of the folks on the site want more team news and whatnot, and okay, but what I find interesting about what Alex Grinch is doing is not the scheme. It's still not the whole moving kids around and seeing who fits where. It's that he knows what their output is now. Mm-hmm. Because if you notice the pictures, right, on their helmets, they got trackers on the back of their helmet, GPS trackers on the back of their helmets, which means they know how fast you're moving, where you're moving to, and how often you move there. Now, it feels like this is a long time coming to college football in a way that fans understand it and know it, not to say that folks aren't already doing it. But this is something that I've seen done throughout professional sports, particularly in soccer, for years, right? We know how much ground Steven Gerrard covered way back in the day. And I was just thinking about he'd been saying all along, I'm coaching effort. And I'm going, big deal. Everybody coaches effort. Show me a kid that got to Oklahoma without showing maximum effort. And he said, no. I speed. And I'm going, you can't make them faster. They come in with one speed. You can make them bigger and stronger, and they'll get just a little bit faster maybe. But that's going to be because of technique and because of training, not because you're going to make them faster. And then there's this, which makes all the sense in the world to me now that I'm putting it together. He knows when they're loafing in a way that I don't think anybody's ever known if they're loafing at Oklahoma in ever. So the talent that you have that you know is there, you're going to be able to get maximum effort out of, if for no other reason than they're accountable with the numbers on the board. And I'm going, okay, well, that's how you make somebody fast, is you basically make sure that they have enough conditioning to never stop. And that's where Bennie Wiley's going to earn his keep. How far do you think that is from being correct?
Oh, I think ultimately they're going to have to be in really good shape for how they want to play this defense, as aggressive, as fast as they want to play. And you can tell just by the intensity of the 30 minutes that we got to see last week of that practice. I mean, it was intense. We're just watching Grinch get after it, watching Odom get after it, watching Manning, Thibodeau. It was intense the way they went about it. There was a lot of, you got to go here, got to go there, and you got to do it fast. You got to do it right. If you don't do it right, they're in their butt, but they're also in their butt with their arm around your shoulder, kind of talking you through it. It was a different vibe from everybody that I've talked to. The players seem to be responding very, very well to this, and they love it. They love the aggressive. They love the freedom that they have in this to be aggressive, because they're not going to get in trouble for getting burnt because they went to go make a huge play, because there was effort there. There was an intent. There was a purpose of why they made that mistake. Now, they're going to get in trouble for doing what we saw a lot last year, was not knowing what to do and then acting and playing, on your heels. That's not going to fly under a Grinch. And I think that's going to change the defense in a big way.
Well, the thing that I'm still watching for is how often are you checking to the sideline? Because that's the thing that everybody's going to key on.
Because you're shrugging your shoulders, your hands up. Oh,
right. Because that matters,
so,
right?
So I have something on that. Actually, because Caleb Kelly talked to the media. And he said, verbatim, he goes, every week last year we were changing the scheme.
Yeah.
It felt like, and it was like ultimately we were trying to, it was always something different. The calls were different. Everything was different last year. He goes with Grinch. He goes, what you see is what you get. This is how we're going to do this. There's not going to be, a cloak and dagger about everything. There's going to be, it is what it is. Maybe they're going to add some new wrinkles here and there, but the rest of the calls are going to stay the same. So you're not going to have to relearn stuff over and over and over. And it's not going to be confusing. I mean, he didn't say it verbatim like that, but that's kind of what he was getting at in his answer. And it was interesting. I think it piqued the interest of almost every media member that was there.
Somebody just fist pumped to their car stereo. Because, look, that was what Ruffin did well against TCU and Kansas State. And I'm still not entirely sure why they went away from it. But they didn't run but like 6 plays. Like they ran 6 plays all game.
Well, I think there'll be more than that, but I think they're going to be. You're going to know like all 30 plays. Like it's not going to.
No. What I mean is like when they were running against TCU under Ruffin and Kansas State. I'm just saying that it was so simple that they didn't. I mean, this is what we're running, right? And if you know the 30 plays like the back of your hand coming out of spring, then yeah, absolutely. There's no checking with me. But I also am so terribly interested in making mistakes, but also making them at max speed, because I really just want to see what that looks like. I want to see what a mistake at max speed looks like.
It's going to look like Zach Sanchez, which was pretty good. I mean, he was a pretty good defensive back.
Yeah, and he could
not. But I mean, he was aggressive. Everything he did was aggressive.
Yeah,
he made plays.
I wish he would have aggressive.
Sometimes he got burned.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, all right. As far as his cover skills,
he made plays.
No, as far as his cover skills, you're right. Like yes. Go big or go home. And we all love Zach for that. I just going, yo, man, is it that he can't wrap up or that they can't teach him to wrap up? Because you wanted him on the field. Let's be clear about that.
But he was pretty good. He's been pretty good in the NFL, I mean, when he's got a chance to play. So I think it was more. I'm not going there. You go ahead.
He's playing the Alliance now. But your point is taken.
Well, I mean, but he's doing pretty well there.
Your point is taken. Your point is taken.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing that folks really want to see is, all right, cool. You're changing the recruiting, fine, whatever. But at the end of the day, Oklahoma has got the guys that it wanted to get, so that's not been an issue. It's been developing the talent on the field, and I've been the most critical of this, and I'll own it, but it's also true. When you first saw Jordan Thomas play, you were going to first-round draft pick. That's what that kid's going to develop into. And then, not only is he getting burnt and he's, winning the award for the person people want taken off the field, but he goes to the combine and he sets the cone drill record. It's like, okay, so he's got talent. We know that. What was going on? And you kind of saw that all over the field. And that's the thing that I hope that Grinch does better than anybody else in football is just take what you got and make it into world beaters. And you got proof of that from Washington State because they got 2-star, 3-star guys, and he turned that into a top 20 defense. So with what he already has at hand, you'd be right to be very optimistic about what this defense can be. Nobody is prepared to say inside the top 25. But I'm not going to crucify you for wanting to believe that based on what he's been able to do from a development standpoint.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Caleb Kelly said something exactly about what you were talking about just there at Washington State. They've been watching a lot of Washington State film, he says. And he added, look, the main thing that the staff members are talking to the defense about is, look, they weren't as recruited as you. They're not as talented as you, but they're making plays better than you did last year. So why is that? Where's the effort? Because where is you buying into this scheme? Because if you buy into this scheme, look what these kids did. Look what you can do. Because you're more talented. And you can tell just the confidence and just the way that the players are talking that they're kind of seeing the light. Like, look, this guy knows what he's doing, and we're going to follow him through. There was a lot of division with the staff last year between the staff and the players. I don't think that that's going to be the case this year, and I think that's going to show on the field.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, and then it's his first year, so you're not going to say he better, but
yeah.
But I mean, the only holdovers are right. I mean, the only holdovers are really Calvin Thibodeau and Ruffin, right, from that defense. Yeah. So you got your guys.
I don't think Ruffin's long.
Right. Right. So you're really talking about Tibbs. That's what you're really talking about. And you brought in two guys that absolutely understand you and absolutely understand what you want to accomplish with what you have at hand. So there's lots of reasons to be optimistic about this. Like, I almost look at this the way Bill Bedenbaugh was brought in before Lincoln Riley, right? And he was brought in because the offensive line, it wasn't in shambles, but it wasn't good either. You know,
he made the offensive line good real quick.
Right. And and every person that has come into that sort of position, whether it be Bill Bedenbaugh or Lincoln Riley, has had an immediate impact. You can even say that about Jay Boulware and where he was with special teams when you talk about guys like Alex Ross. Now, if it fell off and Lincoln, and I think even Bob would cop to, hey, I probably put a little too much on Boulware to be my running backs coach and my special teams guy. And then you got that 10th assistant, which was like a godsend for most staffs, and Shane Beamer gets you right in a hurry. So allowing these guys to be able to specialize and to do what they're good at, I also think is one of Lincoln's strengths. He's really, really good about picking the right people to do a job and then just letting them do the job. You know, like he did. And I still think that it's awesome that he and Bedenbaugh are able to exchange so many ideas about what they should be running and why they should be running it. And I don't know that that's a common occurrence, not necessarily between a head coach and offensive line coach. That's not what I'm saying. But to have guys that, you know, one guy's a primary play caller. He's preternatural at this. This is his gift. He knows how to scheme. And the other guy is like, no. I know what the line can do. And by the way, I know what the line can do because we got to face defensive linemen all the time. I think we're going to be pretty good at doing this. And you know how many times they ran guard, tackle, counter over the last 2 years? You knew it was coming, and you still couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, you knew it was coming. You knew that counter was coming. There's nothing you could do about it. I mean, Rodney Anderson in Oklahoma made Georgia look awful with that counter all game long. You know, they got away from it a little bit, and Riley started doing these things sometimes where he starts passing in too much. But once they got back to running the ball, they started moving the ball again in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, and I know we're talking about a game that nobody wants to talk about, but
we're talking about. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, but I mean that's kind of the best point to be made when we're talking about that, because everybody knew it was coming. Like, they talked about it. Herb Street was talking about it. Like, they're going to pull the guard right here. There it comes, and there goes Ronnie Anderson down the field for 30 yards. I mean, there's nothing anybody can do about it. They get so proficient at it, it's almost impossible to stop. And that shows you how good Beatenbow is as not only a teacher of the line, but just so much how much he is able to get in the ear of Riley and just say, hey, look, this is what's working, this is what's not working. You need to do this, you need to do that. And Riley, to his credit, listens to Bill Beatenbow, and he should. I mean, the guy's the best offensive line coach in the country.
So, I had a question for you.
Oh, boy.
It's not that kind of question. Don't trip. It's fine. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that. And even if I did, you're really good about going, I'm not answering that. And you should be, to be fair. So, like, if that ever happens, just be like, skip it, RJ, and we can go with that. Because that's not what this podcast is for. This is two buddies chopping it up, and other people like to hear us chop it up.
Yeah.
But what was the weirdest thing you saw at Pro Day? Because that was the fun part for me, is going, wait a second, what is that dude doing over there? And there's so many people around. There had to be some weirdness going on.
Yeah, the Joe Bornthal or whatever his name was.
Blumenthal. Joel.
Blumenthal, yeah, from Deer Creek and Swazu. Well, from numerous colleges, but he ended up at Swazu. It was weird because you watched him and you're like, man, I cannot believe this guy is still, doing this thing. It's a blast from the past. And then he goes up there and just rocks it. It's just like, wow, he's really good. Probably should have been somewhere other than Swazu. And hey, I'm a Swazu guy. Sorry, Swazu people that I know that are listening to this.
Oh, wait a second. You're an alumnus talking noise? Who else does that?
So, anyways, that being said, it was kind of crazy to see how good he actually was. I thought that was a weird thing. But I thought the funniest thing was when Bledsoe was doing his pad drills, and they had one of the team managers out there holding it, and he just sent that dude 10 yards back.
That was good. That was good. Eichert put that out because he put it out and said block and charge.
I mean, I saw that in person. It was fantastic.
He said block and charge.
I fell over laughing.
Oh my God.
It was funny. But yeah, I mean, that was probably the worst. I mean, there is a lot of weirdness going on. Obviously, I just think that the craziest thing of the whole day was the 4-8. I mean, we're not going to get back into that, but yeah, that was the craziest thing of the whole day. Just watching it happen, and you knew it was fast when you saw it. You're like, oh my God. Like, whoa.
Okay,
but
so
we didn't know who it was at the time. So
I'm watching this on NFL Network, and I'm listening to what Daniel Jeremiah has to say, because he's basically giving live analysis during Kyler's workout.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Chuck Casserly in there, and I think Bucky Brooks was in there as well. And everything that Jeremiah is saying, I want to listen to. So if you guys don't listen to Move the Sticks, another podcast, you should, because between him and Bucky, it's a really good conversation. Jeremiah is an outstanding scout turned analyst, and I enjoy hearing him talk about football because I'm a football geek and a football nerd, and the way that he's choosing to evaluate players and the way that he's choosing to rank them, not necessarily just based on need, depending on where it is, and how the evaluation process works for him and how it worked for him when he was still at Baltimore. But to hear him talk about what Kyler Murray was able to do made it entertaining for me to watch, which is really difficult because I've seen every single Kyler Murray throw as a Sooner. When he goes on the field, yeah, we both saw it. We saw that man make 377 passes. And I'm just going, what am I going to see here that I haven't already seen? And Jeremiah was talking about, the ball zips, but it's catchable. You know that he's got more to it, but he's not doing that. And even so, the ball gets there when it needs to get there. And he was talking about how good it was to see him be so effortless in his movements. And it didn't look like Jim Zorn had a whole lot to do, which is what you would want, right? That's what you want out of your quarterback coach, the guy scripting you up. That means he made you ready to do this. And I was just enamored by all of that, because when it came time to run the show, and the show was his 70-plus throws and his, 15, 20-minute workout, I'm going to say it was like 20 minutes. You got everything you wanted to see and then some, and then with Jeremiah calling it is a lot of fun. But the weird part was hearing Chuck casually just kind of try to come up with something good to say about Kyler every single time. Because every other word out of his mouth, you're like, yeah, but you don't like the guy. That's what's going in the back of your head. It's like, no, you can see a guy that makes all the throws. And I'm going, well, okay. But how about that whiteboard there, Chuck? Anyway, it's two different perspectives.
I will say that the weirdest thing for me was totally getting. Do I sound like I'm echoing now?
No, you're good. I'm sure somebody's going to say that you are, but I don't hear it.
Yeah.
Were you just eating?
Really weird. No, I just sound like I'm. There we go. So it was really weird. But the weirdest thing for me was, so after, I'm not going to name the name of the media member because I'm not going to do that. But so after the presser, Kyler's presser, we're walking down the little hallway to get to the elevator, because we're up there in the actual alumni, center to where we do the Monday pressers. And we're walking down, and a couple of people are walking with us, and Kyler's with me, and we get on the elevator, or we're trying to get on the elevator, and this dude runs up, and I will say that the same media member tried to dominate every question at the presser. Literally tried to ask a billion questions. And he runs up to Kyler and goes, "Hey, Kyler, can I have your phone number? I just want to keep in touch with you throughout the draft." And you could feel just the tension. I mean, you could cut it like a knife. Like, Kyler, as nice as could be, was just like, And finally somebody, that was with him goes, "Yeah, you don't have to do that. I wouldn't." And the guy goes, "Oh, well, I mean, you don't have to, but I would love to be able to stay in touch with you." Like, in front of, like, 5 other people. And Kyler's like, "Just call my agent." And just kind of gets in the elevator with us. It was so... And then Kyler was nice to us because he knows all of us. But, like, that guy had never been to an OU presser before. And he's, like, trying to buddy up with, Kyler during the presser and then after, like, hotboxing him to get his number. So uncomfortable. It was the most uncomfortable part I've seen or been a part of as far as pressers goes in a long time. It was super uncomfortable.
Well, on that note of someone shooting their shot and missing, that's Brandon Drum. I'm RJ Young. We try to do this here thing once a week. We chop it up about all things OU. This is an OUinsider.com podcast. If you like the podcast, rate and review it. Give us 5 stars because it's a 5-star podcast. We will see you next week. Deuces.
Make sure you sub. Deuces.